Hello, beautiful people. I'm Elizabeth Molina. I'm a mother, a model on a mission, speaker, a certified life and health coach, as well as a licensed esthetician with a focus in post-op lymphatic drainage. I'm also trained in face gym. Many call me their beauty guru because of my curiosity, knowledge, and passion for the concept of beauty in the modern world. This is definitely the place to be if you're into bio, beauty, and life hacking and understanding the why of your beauty routine. If that's you, then you're in the right place. Are you ready for your glow up session? Welcome back to the show. As you know, we are diving into the different categories of the beauty circle. And if you don't have the beauty circle yet, I really suggest you getting it. It is just such an amazing tool. This week's category is spirituality. And today's guest is really gonna knock the socks off your feet because she is such a powerful woman. Her name is Kalisa Augustine. She is an experienced holistic health practitioner and an author. She does private sessions in New York and LA. She also does virtual sessions. She leads workshops in New York and Los Angeles. Her energy, healing, and spiritual guidance process brings her clients greater awareness, peacefulness, and clarity in order to heal. The foundational intentions behind her work are to elevate, inspire, and awaken the power of the human spirit through energy healing. As humanity continues to evolve, Kalisa intends to bring themes of empowerment and expansion into all future works. Her last venture is the Energy Book, published in August 2020. She has been published in so many different books and places and television shows and magazines. She has been featured in the New York Times, Vogue, Bustle, Marie Claire, WMagazine, Buzzfeed, MindBodyGreen, Vice, Well and Good, and so many more. If I continue to list them off, guys, I think it'll be like an hour. She is so amazing. She is like one of the best kept secrets. Without further ado, welcome Kalisa. Hey Kalisa, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being on. So everyone knows we are talking about the beauty circle, and I am interviewing experts in the categories. And today's category is spirituality. So Kalisa, would you mind giving us a brief introduction about yourself and your work?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. I'm an energy healer. I kind of call it sort of like an energy artist or human expander. I work with vibration therapy, angelic healing, shamanic practices to clear and clean density, trauma, anything that's acting as a weight in the body, in the field, and reinvigorate with light. And I find for really, highly sensitive people that are more attuned to subtle energy, creative types, that this is a really powerful tool to sort of let go and experience a sense of calm and peace in ways that you might not get with a traditional route. So that's kind of a little bit about the practice. There's some counseling and that kind of stuff involved in it. And it's a really beautiful, spiritually transformative experience. I'm also a writer and an author and a creative. So I'm always working on, different kinds of things, creative projects and things like that. And so that's my jam, everything kind of under the umbrella of impact, human consciousness, narrative, healing, and creativity.
Awesome. And you also have like really cool meditations that I downloaded. So you forgot to mention that.
So yeah, I have, I work with people in person and also remotely. And of course, after, COVID and everything, there's been a bit more distance with everybody. But I created an album of really beautiful ambient music with this incredible composer, Christopher Child. We actually used to office together in Brooklyn, and I wanted to offer something for my clients to use when we're working at a distance. And so we got together and I kind of creative directed with sound healing, because I work with Crystal Bowl Sound Healing attuned to 432. And he does a lot of like just beautiful composition for film. And we got together and came up with these just absolutely epic, really, really long tracks. So there's an album of ambient music, meditation, writing, yoga, walking around the city, being in your poetic mind or whatever, that kind of stuff. And then there is also, those same tracks I overlaid with meditations that I thought would really be helpful for my clients in between sessions.
Yeah, so I hope our listeners will be able to check that out. But, moving on, I wanted to ask you, what is your why for spirituality? Like, what got you into this lifestyle?
Spirituality, just, what does that mean? A conscious communion with the divine, with light, with, prana, chi, God substance, source, Allah, spirit, Krishna, whatever you want to call it. I'm a believer that all, rivers lead to the ocean, and, whatever your tradition or background, in whatever way that you feel comfortable tapping in, it's really about communion with the deepest part of truth. And so all healing, or let's just say ascension, moving towards that truth, is unmasking. It's just becoming who you actually are, because underneath all of these layers of persona and conditioning and quirks and idiosyncratic, mechanistic, personality traits, underneath all of that is God within us, is the higher self, is the soul. And, and it's great to have all, like our things, and we choose our bodies and our, our whatever, all of these conditions that help form, our individual soul signature in this life. So spirituality isn't about doing something else or like more work or like, I got to do this now, I got to do this, because sometimes, I really get like single parenting, business, working multiple jobs, commuting, and the wellness world, it's just so nuts how it's either geared towards, really young, millennial kind of like nirvana in a pill, or like this super elitist, like older, I have all this discretionary income. And I think it gets confusing for people. It's just ways that you can become more in tune with who you actually are. So as we continue to evolve, it's not like you turn towards this path. It is all just one, So to answer your original question of like, how did you fall, become this thing? I had gifts, sensitivities, and operating systems that I was born with that I had to master. And if I didn't master them, they would master me. We don't have elders anymore. We don't have, that are like helping us to, step into all of that. It's kind of like the jungle is the modern world, and everything. But
jungle.
It really, doing the kind of work that I do, not necessarily a mind training or a coaching, but, working deeply with interdimensional reality, with higher guidance, and like painting the field, that comes with a lot of responsibility and choices around, that life shows you, this whole, all of life is like an initiation, like, okay, are you going to pass this test? Are you responsible enough to handle this access? And
love that.
You just keep going with it. And so it was truly something that chose me. It's not like I had some great career, doing something else, and then I realized there's more to life. It's always been a part of me. And I think the mystical channel is intrinsically connected to the creative channel, and how you use that and work with it is unique and different. But, I would say I had really strong gifts as a child, a fair amount of trauma where I shut things down. And then I really started opening up again when I was about 19 and started a deeper dive into myself, meditation practices, like really wanting to understand. And what I found was that for me, when I started meditating, I had an access. It was just like, I was raising my vibration, and I found that I was really, I had this gift to be able to sort of see beyond, understand beyond, move through dimensions. And I was experiencing completely different laws of physics, reality. I was definitely like a rogue mystic getting into trouble. Like, who are you? What's that? And I definitely had to learn my lessons along the way.
I'm like asking myself questions mentally, and then you're answering them. So I'm like, oh, okay, I love this, like flow.
Yeah, they call me intuitive, you know. So.
I know. So, you know, you make it sound so beautiful, and it, you know, people think of spirituality like, oh, I'm gonna get some crystals and sage, and then that's it. Like, I'm gonna sit there.
Oh my God, yeah.
So, like, you make it seem like it's so easy, but like,
do I?
Yes.
This shit ain't easy. I mean, no. I remember the first time I worked with this client, she was like, so like really working on stuff, and it was so cute. She was just like, I bought the sage, I bought the crystals. Why? What is happening? Why isn't it? I'm like, oh man, no, shorty. It is not about that outside of you. It is really like, you don't need anything at the end of the day. It's this. Sit in a chair, you know. I mean, there are tools to help us, you know, and help us focus our attention and all of that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, this is about you and your relationship with you know, that's it.
100%. So I have a question for like people who are listening, who are beginners at this, who are wondering, I can't meditate, I have like monkey brain, I'm all over the place, I can't sit still.
Sure.
What to do? Like, how did you get to there? Because, you know, you spoke a little bit about your trauma, you spoke a little bit about life having like initiations. Like, I love how you say that, because a lot of times we view things and like, oh, this happened to me, and we stay stuck. And you view it as like, no, that was a test. No, that was an initiation. No, that was like, what got your brain thinking in that way? Because that speaks volumes of your being in tune with yourself.
I have a very strong warrior spirit.
I love
it. It's a part of my gift. It's a part of who I am. Initiation is any time you meet your deepest fears. Surrender often lends way to a deeper receiving of universal energies and all the manifestations that come with that. Surrender is not often this graceful, like, you know, I'm Aphrodite and now I will decide to surrender. It is usually your whole fucking life. Goodbye. Yeah. This is done. That is done. Goodbye money, goodbye family, goodbye friends, goodbye all opportunity, goodbye job, goodbye all of this shit, goodbye dignity, self-esteem, respect, goodbye sense of, you know what I mean? It is like, oh, I'm on the ground, on my knees. What the fuck am I going to do? You know? And when you get that rocked, healing is not always easy. You know, the process of moving towards self means looking at and dismantling aspects of dysfunction and pain within you and continuing to create conditions around you through change and through action that are in alignment with who you are, what you, and your gifts, you know what I mean? So we have to create containers to support who we are. So that's a lot of deep inner work, seeing truth. And then that's a lot of, you know, dismantling pain and taking accountability. And then that's also action steps and choices and changes around, you know, your external world, kind of all coming together. I think there's a lot of combinations from pain in my life, soul mission, my frequency and makeup, which I'm indigo, starseed, sort of like interdimensional communicator, you know, mediator a little bit. Part of the indigo thing is really like it's warrior spirits with like mission oriented. Star-seeded natures, you know, are a kind of light worker that is really intrinsically connected to the cosmos and divine knowing. You know, I think part of my makeup and part of just my own drive, you know, to really emancipate myself as much as I can. And it's a journey. It continues, you know, from human bondage and suffering. I had a daughter when I was 22 and I really looked around and was like, my God, I've been given this queen, you know, like I want to show her. I want to show her that it can be different, you know, and that even if it's hard, it can be an adventure. that you don't have to settle, that you don't have to close in on yourself. When I did not want to go public with this, I had lost friends. It was very threatening to people. You know, when you start to activate light and you start to do things differently from the people around you, it becomes very threatening. And especially it was like being gay. You know what I mean? It was very like you were in the closet. It's really weird. You don't talk about that stuff, you know, and yeah, like I had 3 best friends whose husbands like wouldn't let them hang out with me anymore. But it's so interesting because I actually have a very deep and strong relationship with Christ and Christ consciousness. It's a big part of who I am as a healer. And, you know, again, like I work with all kinds of people and, you know, different ascended masters, and have a deep respect for all different kinds of religion. But I also have a really deep relationship with Christ consciousness, which is the I am presence within ourselves.
Thank you. That was a really great, I mean, again, you were mind reading my questions in my head. And like, that's how it works. Like it's, you know, you don't have to be in person. There's like different, like you mentioned, quantum energy, different fields. You don't need to be like, there's like, how do we call it? Just energy. Like you don't have to be like physically next to each other to communicate.
No. I mean, gosh, so many more people are tapping into, you know, intuitive abilities and, you know, synchronistic waves. The energy, you know, energy is everyone's primordial language. You know, your presence and your energy can speak for you without saying a word. Absolutely.
And so with that, I want to go into beauty because you are beautiful and stunning, and in person you are as well. Like I've seen you definitely have that warrior vibe. Like when I had a session with you, I don't know, like a while ago, you were just standing there and I literally like, you were wearing like regular clothes, but I could actually see you like in a warrior, like from the frame. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this badass woman here?
Oh, thank
you. So strong and so beautiful. So like, you know, beauty and spirituality, I like to tie them in together because every healer that I have known has this just angelic glow to them that you can't, like, there's no makeup in the world, no face product in the world that can give you that glow.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that a little bit because you've always had it. And again, any person that I know who is doing that type of work has this like, just like luminescent, like I can't even explain. I don't have the vocabulary right now because it's just like this angelic, like divinity glow around them. Like it just emanates from their skin. It's like almost sparkly and shiny. So like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about spirituality and beauty and this glow and like, tell us more about this.
When you move pain, there's just more space for light. There, you know, vibrancy. And what is that light that we're talking about? Healers tap into life force energy. They tap into divine energy. They are accessing the divinity consciously, intentionally, for themselves and for others, you know, in so many different ways and mediums and forms. They're, you know, tapping into the divine light within themselves and helping others to access that within themselves. It's truly brilliant. It's brilliant. And we all have that. And a refinement of light starts to move through the field in the body and starts to flow in a different way. So you start to experience as normal different qualities of light moving through the body in the field, and expand it and shine in a different way as you start to look at this kind of work. So for example, let's say somebody who constantly gets allergic reactions, you know?
That's me.
So yes, of course, there are, you know, environmental conditions and weather, but oh my gosh, I used to have allergic I never knew what my face was going to look like in the morning. getting up, whether it was going to be swollen or the heat or the weather or, skin or, it's just like, it's wild,
my mind, because I'm looking at myself and I'm like, oh, I'm so puffy today because my allergies are out of control. Because of
yeah, but it just, the more that you strengthen your immune system and start to, prioritize healthy habits and regularity instead of like, I have to be all of these things for other people, or I have to produce, or I have to do, go, and all of that, you're starting to honor and prioritize your spirit, the flame that you are, instead of external conditions. And so sometimes, nothing physical changes. It's all, emotional and heart-centered, but I've absolutely had very immediate physical, miraculous healings and changes, that are just an effect of what we're rolling spiritually. So I think the more peaceful you are, the more joyful you are, the more exuberant you are, the more positivity you see within yourself in the world. And if you can choose to adopt different perspectives as you start to raise your vibration and your access and your depth, and you're seeing things differently, it's just really different laws of physics are at play, and that energy starts to shine through you.
So I love that it's all about intention and like knowing your intention, why you're doing this, like knowing the why. And we get back to this, knowing the why, like why for you went to the gym, not because you wanted to look hot. I mean, obviously you do, but that's side effects, right? But you went there for strength, for endurance, for release of endorphins, to be like the best parent you can be for your child.
Yeah.
And that was your intention. What happened after your intention was the side effect that you were like toned and you were looking good and you still look good. So like knowing your intention for doing things, I think it like definitely goes back to spirituality, because when you know the intention behind it, like that's what I talk about in the beauty. Like people go and like, I'm going to go do my lashes and I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z because I need to compete with this one. And that intention is completely unaligned with why they're needing to do this. So there's clarity. So
yeah.
And that goes back to like being in tune with yourself, which is why we talk about spirituality with you. Can you give us a little bit about how you ground yourself after seeing so many clients and, being that, I want to say like fountain of energy that you are, just like accessing your field and allowing that to flow through you, to flow through your clients, like that is heavy work. Like you need to work on that muscle. Like it's not easy to have clients back to back and deal with the trauma, the pain. I mean, it's intense work. Like if there was a show following you around, it would be like everyone would be watching it like with popcorn, like in Dateline. So,
that's very sweet.
I've been in the session, like I was bawling my eyes out like the first minutes that I walked in, and I'm like, how is this possible? I don't even cry that much ever. So how do you ground yourself after a long, like how do you prep yourself spiritually and then how do you end your day so that you are not keeping or harnessing those feelings because they're not yours, you're just a vessel. So how do you do that?
God gives you what you're prepared for. And you know how I talked about the initiations throughout my life, when I really look at it, it's cumulative. Like you build up a certain kind of energetic strength, at a certain level, right? I'll take it back to like fitness or whatever, like the guys that just can, and I'm not saying I'm some, but it is, I will say the strength becomes cumulative as these energetic patterns become just auto in my field from doing it so much or building up a certain, aspect or thing. There's a lot of different components and, metaphysical wormholes, science, counseling. It's intense work. And I don't even tell most people, how deep and the levels of it, how deep it really gets and what I have had to become.
Because you have to feel it to heal it. So,
yeah, they do. I don't have to feel everything that they're feeling. You know,
it goes through you. Like you have to witness it.
Yeah. I witness it and I hold it and I'm aware. Yeah, sometimes it can wear on me, you know, but I think the key is, you know, which I've really learned, I would say the past couple of years, is balance. Or I've had to have boundaries around my schedule, you know, and times, and people just, you know, honoring, like, this is when I'm available, this is when I'm not. I'm very discerning about my evening times, my personal times. I have a process before I get started. I have a process in between every client. I have a wind down process, and then I really require a lot of space of just nothingness, you know, like, so when I'm really, you know, in residencies or, you know, working and taking a lot of clients, like my friends even know, like, I'm not available. Like there just has to be, you know, but the more balance that I have in, you know, kind of my daily, you know, the better it is. So, you know, I have my own practices and processes, and over time, you know, you just get better at not taking anything on that's not permitted. I'm super chill, but I can also be really intense, and my intensity needs outlets. So, and I like to master things, but then like incorporate other things. So I have found a great, you know, sense of balance in really prioritizing my health, my heart, my relationships in life, making sure I get exercise, enough sleep. I'm really sensitive to foods, so I have to be really careful about that kind of stuff. I think that you can have it all, but not at the same time. You know, there was a time for me to focus on like acting and writing when I was younger, and there was a time that I was a yoga teacher and fitness instructor, and, you know, had different jobs, you know, around that. So to answer your question, when you are balanced, when you're whole and balanced, and again, I'm not fucking perfect. I, you know, continue to work on myself. It never ends, you know, but when you're balanced, it is a lot easier to maintain a sense of strength, you know? And so I am all about, you know, balance. And that's how I don't take on anything, because when I was out of balance and working like a psycho, or like giving everything away, or just like, you know, trying to like hustle single parent in New York, like whatever my clients need, or yeah, I'll write this curriculum. Yes, I'll do this press. Yes, I'll do da 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 da. I was hurting. Yes. I was not, you know, caring for myself. But you know what? At the same time, sometimes in life, that was also a form of initiation for me, where I was just like fainting in the middle of the day, go get Helena, go to that da 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 da. You know, that was like warrior time. I don't know if I could have done anything different. And I'm really fucking proud of myself for the way that I've handled things.
Yeah, your curiosity is really like, as I'm listening to you, and it's always like the theme. You're like, why, how, like, what do I need to know? What do I need to see? And I love that.
Yeah.
That's the warrior in you. Like, how do I fix this situation? What's causing this? What am I not seeing? How can I adjust? What do I like? How is this an initiation for me? Like, how do I move on? You're just like always like on. I like it.
That's a really interesting perspective, and I appreciate that insight. I'm a philosopher, absolutely, 100%. You know, when you are a visionary and you can see, like, okay, nobody else can see it, but like, there's a big, like, are you kidding me? This is an elephant. Like, why don't these people see this? But that's fucking going on right now. Are you kidding me? Like, what is going on this planet? Yeah, like, I'm curious. I'm intellectual, I'm spiritual, I'm philosophical. The things that I can access, I go, this is the truth. This is home. Bring it here on earth? Okay. Oh, okay. What's in the way of feeling like that here, right now? You know, it's again like that tap dance and art form of balance between also just being a curious human being. That is inspired. Inspired means in spirit. Inspired by life, where you are excited and questioning and, you know, looking at things differently. I'm not scared of being a human. And I think that's what is the difference. You know, healers, you know, witch, hexa comes from the word hag, Germanic word, lives on the hedge. Hedge meaning here's the forest, here's society. 1 foot in the world of the community and society, 1 foot in the world of nature or the cosmos, so that you can bring down divine wisdom and share it with the community. You have to be courageous to take this path. You have to. If you don't have courage, then don't do it. Go somewhere else. Like, stay numb, stay in pain. But this is not a time on earth where you're going to continue to get away with denial, vices, the same patternings. It's just, if you don't learn your lessons, it's going to get harder and harder and harder.
COVID really, like, propelled a lot of people to, like, deal with their shit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, people, the shamans, the wise ones, the druids, the healers, the masters, this and that, they are walking the edge of the hedge, exploring the nature of reality and understanding the human condition, and are taking steps forward in ways that other people are afraid to or don't value, and then relay that information back. So it's kind of like, you know, what's really hard is being in pain all the time and pretending that everything's fine. That's really hard, you know, like not being, yeah, it sucks, you know? So it's just, this is all about freedom, and it's all integrated. You know, it doesn't have to be this like higher level, oh my gosh, like, you know, it is, you know, I think really we forget too about it's descending. It's about the heart. It's about letting go. It's about freedom.
That's so hard to surrender. Like, we make it sound so magical, and it's like, just surrender. And it is so freaking hard to just let go and just like trust. Because I think it comes down to trust also. Like, can you trust?
Yeah.
The universe has your back, right? That it's going to provide, like you said earlier, with your, like, your teams and your guides are like, you're on a mission, you got to go. And you're like, but what, like, don't worry about it. We got you. We're going to send you the right people. We're going to send you like everything you need. Just be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there's so many people I feel like who are so like not in touch with that. And they're so scared to trust.
Trust took me a long time. Absolutely. I would say that I trusted, you know, I started to develop trust with a higher power before humans. You know, I've always been like really kind, compassionate, but very defensive in protection of my being because of my life and just because of the way things were. And I didn't really realize it until later, you know, but I knew, you know, I know that we can develop ourselves in any way that we want. And in places and times where it was really hard for me to trust, I'm hungry. How am I going to pay my rent? You know, why do I have all these weird gifts that don't fit in anywhere? Why do I, you know, I mean, all of this, I won't even get into it because it's a lot, but those, I remember.
We'll have another.
You know, but I remember I allowed myself to experience my feelings and then let it go. You know what I mean? It's got to move through you, you know? And then, you know, that's kind of like okay, higher self holding space for, you know, my personality. Yeah. But I would like challenge myself in times where I just couldn't trust. I was really serious about training my mind in ways that I knew the first 16 seconds, like my mind better be trained. I started training my mind to think certain ways before I even opened my fucking eyes because I know the tone and like, you know what I mean? What, again, back to like whatever you appreciates, you know, and you have to have courage. You have to be open. When you start recognizing ethereal truth as more powerful than temporary and fleeting material presentations, you're good. You got it, you know?
And there's information in your book. Like, tell us more about that, because I mean, we can talk for hours about
yeah, for sure. So yeah, a lot of, you know, my book is designed for people who are, you know, have heard about energy, or, you know, different kinds of spiritual systems, but like want to understand a foundational, like what is going on right now and why is this a big deal? Why are we talking about it? So like the first part of the book, so it's really a powerful and great intro that is still grounded and intelligent and digestible and easy to read. It takes all of this stuff that is abstract and distills it in a way that I think a lot of people can understand. It's on Amazon. You can get it on my website. But the first part of the book talks about like intuition and, where we are, the stage of awakening, like what is energy? Why should we even care? How does this affect life? Why is this such a theme in the mainstream, and I talk about the history, the Vedas, the Mayans, the Hopis, astrology, what's going on at this time.
Wait to get my hands on it.
Oh, thanks. In the shift in humanitarian consciousness. And then it gets into you as a light being kind of going through the field and the chakras and that kind of stuff. Throughout the book, there's DIY practices, like try this bilateral breathing, try this to open the third eye, and then the middle part of the book gives people a lot of just like a very simplified summary, but kind of talking about a lot of different practices, modalities from ancient to modern to medical that incorporate awareness of energy. So for somebody who is like a little bit more artistic and intuitive and abstract, maybe they'd want to work with color and sound and angels, right? And somebody who's a bit more pragmatic and philosophy, or scientific that just wants to I don't know about all this stuff, but I'd like to experience more peace and stillness. So I'm really attracted to neurology and meditation and, that kind of thing, EMDR, brain spotting, those kinds of things, and they might find that pathway. Maybe you have a religious person that wants to deepen their experience of intimate communion with God. And maybe you have somebody that is not religious at all, just wants to know how to kind of tap in a little bit more. So it goes from like color therapy and magnets and sound healing and shamanism and angels and karma, yoga, astrology, ancestral energy. There's cacao ceremonies, moon rituals, abundance rituals, all in there. And so it's all these different pathways. And so it's for the reader, like, hey, this is what's up and this is why it's up. Here's a lot of different things that you could kind of check out if you wanted to. And this is how you supercharge it. So the last part of the book is really about meditation, prayer, manifestation, affirmations, and things that you can do, all of us at home, that don't cost anything every day to enliven our deeper connection with ourselves and our God selves within.
I absolutely love it, and I need to get my hands on it. I can't think of the word because I'm so overwhelmed with all the information that you're putting in the book. Because a lot of times, there are a lot of healers who kind of give you little snippets and it's like, buy more. And you're not about that. You're like, no, here's the information. Here's how to do it. Here's what you need to do it with no tools. Like you can do this by yourself. And if you need, you want tools, you can fully incorporate them. But first, master yourself.
Right.
Well, I love that you are, and especially with COVID and what's happening in the world, like it is just so beautiful. And unfortunately, you spoke about before about like healers, like back in the days, like, healers didn't have to worry about food or shelter because they were praised in their community. They had people would bring them fruits and whatever they needed. They would just lived, they just flowed. They flowed with everything. They healed people. They worked with animals, with plants, with cosmos, with planets, and understood their value. Right. And so they didn't need that. And today we're living in a totally different climate where healers not only have to heal and do all these things and to try to even like survive.
There's a lot in the Western medical community that's like, fuck that. A lot now that are like opening to, yes, okay. I've had neurologists be like, go see that woman. Therapists call me and be like, I don't know what you're doing for my clients, but thank you. And it is nice to see a lot more, Western med validation. And I'm like a very integrative person. Handle your shit. You know what I mean? You need to go to the doctor. You need Medicaid. Do that. Handle your business.
Definitely you are.
Be very grounded about it. And there's, different times in our life require different protocols and different understandings of health and wellness. But everything that I do is really complementary. And I think that this is an issue in the wellness like, I really struggle with it because, you know, I know as a business person, I need to be better about productizing and add on this and da 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 da.
Yeah.
But honestly, you know, my fucking truth, if I'm good at what I do, I'm irrelevant. And I've done a good job. You know what I mean? You
Yes.
come to me for a period of time and then you go, that's the fucking goal. So you know what I mean? It's not like
I love about you that you know that, like, you're like, no, I am a healer. I am helping you to heal yourself. I'm teaching you what you need. And that's a true healer.
Right.
You're not like looking for someone like in the pharmaceutical world, you know, where they're like, you need to be on this for life. You have like diabetes and you need insulin for the rest of your life. And so like, we need you to come every month and we need you to check and we need to get your insurance money, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
That's not what you do. You actually do like the right healing. Like, I might not see you for 2 years.
You know, and it's
and
really,
because you did your job. You helped me move on to the next chapter, to my next section. And then maybe I need a little tweak here. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little stuck. That's who you are. You're not like, come to me for 6 years, every month. Then I'll help you.
No. That's not cool. You know, it's really, I think that my work is really profound at certain stages of awakening, and with really just, remodeling the system, upgrading the operating system. And then you go, man, you're the guru. That's the thing. We have to just have a really deep level of spiritual discernment. And yes, you're right. Like artists and healer types, yes, we had, more support. And, there's definitely some battles, but people are getting, wiser. And, I'm totally here for people. And I gave out, all those meditations for free. I know what it's like to be hungry and broke and have kids, and my business crashed too. I'll probably heal a little bit on the side, but I've really recognized like, okay, like, it's time to create the next thing. And I'm really excited about what I'm creating, for the future.
And that's where your like meditations come in, that you can purchase and you can download, and you can always have access to you and to like these like really grounding, really beautiful, really thought out meditations, because they're all like very special. I could actually like use like sacred love for if I'm, looking for a partner or something like that, or like if I want to heal my inner child, or if I need color therapy, or the totem one. Like there's so many, the clearing, the archangel clearing, which is so beautiful. I did it this morning actually.
Wonderful.
And I mean, they're so like, I've bought most of them before, and there were like 2 that I didn't buy, but then when you offered them, I'm like, I re-downloaded all of them.
Yeah. Oh, great.
And they're just so beautiful. They're super like nice and sweet. They're like 15 minutes long. Mm-hmm. Some of them are like 12 minutes. Mm-hmm. Your voice is just so serene and grounding. The beautiful like music in the background is like, the frequency is just really like, you can feel like you're elevated. Like there are moments when I do them and I'm like, am I elevating? Am I like levitating? I wish I could record this.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. It was truly a labor of love from my heart. I was like channeling angels in the studio. I played every single time. I was like sweating. My partners were like, oh my God, you're like a ballerina in there with all of the bowls. And I was just in this zone, and I channeled energy specifically. I didn't just use the same tones in every track because I wanted the energy to come through. And I know that sound carries energy, and so people will experience that frequency as they work with it. And I think that the invisible, energies that from which these tracks and were born affect the listener, and that was my intention.
And it did. I just want to tell you, because I've had a live session with you, and I wanted to ask you, in the beauty circle, that I developed this circle where I talk about 10 different categories that I believe are crucial to achieving your most beautiful self. And like, I don't just mean aesthetically, I mean like as a whole being, as a spirit.
Yeah, right.
And like not these characters that we play, like just like let that spirit come forward. And like, I believe these are the things that, we should be checking off every day. So we grade them. So in the circle, which you know about. We definitely know you excel in spirituality. So
Yeah.
is there a category that you might be struggling with, that you're like, well, I could use a little bit of help here?
Yeah. Let's see. I forget. Sometimes I really forget about water. Water, I need to be better about, because sometimes like I get so focused or in a flow if I'm writing or excited about something or I'm working, and I need, and yeah, I get really focused in a flow and will sort of forget about that sometimes. So water intake, but I really do like high quality water. I think it's really important. And movement's been a disaster since COVID, and I really like I feel the best when I work out energy from my body. Like I've mentioned, I can be like, I have a lot of energy, so it needs to get expressed, spiritually, creatively, physically. And I hate wearing a mask when I work out, and it's just such a pain. I have asthma, so that's like kind of frustrating for me. I think these Zoom workouts, I'm like, how much longer? You know what I mean? We're in the house, and it's in New York and LA, small spaces. You have a kid trying to use the bandwidth. If you have a partner, they're trying to work at home. And it's just like, So I try to do hikes where there's not a lot of people. And if if you're in a place that, doesn't require you to wear the mask, like, where you can social distance and like breathe. Yeah. But man, I really miss being in the studio. I miss having a trainer. I miss, those kinds of things. So, and I just like, oh my God, with so much pressure this year, I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm going to do what I can, when I can, not put pressure on myself. But I'll notice, like, if I don't work out, like, I'm in the city, so I'm okay, just, carry your groceries home today, and walk a really long way, so I'll do things like that, or think about that, or just try to get some like, okay, a yin yoga or stretching, or like do some weights or whatever. But yeah, the movement part's been tough since COVID. I'm not immune to this, just like everybody else. Like, oh my gosh, where am I going to live? Everything I built is crashing. And how am I going to feed my kid? That does not make anybody feel good, and when is this going to be over? So it took me a couple of months of just like, okay, really like deep work, tapping into like just really believe in my ability to transcend anything. And that's the kind of like strength that I have to, because like I don't have like background degrees, like, all of this, like it's not like I can go back to finance or something like that, like the creative path. And I kind of consider myself more of like an indie artist with the work about how it's done. So it's just, like the strength and the vigor and the faith, to believe that I know I can create this new thing and it's going to be magical, and everything I've given is coming back to me. And when I stay there, I'm like in that joy, and I just focus on the adventure and the excitement of everything falling apart. Like, oh yeah, so yeah, I would say like those things. Water, movement. My sleep had been horrible, but I've been really working on it. It's gotten a lot better with all that balance stuff I was talking about. Digestion is really good. I'm really careful about what I eat. But I do try to be better and more balanced like with it. Cause like I said, I think the water and the food, sometimes when I get focused, I forget about that. So those are the things I could work on a little bit more.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So, one last thing I love to ask all my guests, is there something that we don't know about you that you would love to share with us? Like a special talent or gift, or just like a funny story that like no one has heard like on a podcast or an interview, that would just be like really cool for the listeners to know about you?
Oh, wow. There's actually a lot. People don't know me, that much, but I will say like something kind of fun. I love the arts and love creativity. And I've been screenwriting this year. So fun. I've been writing songs and singing a lot more. That's something that I'd like to do, is collaborate with people musically, and express myself in a different way. I'm also a really sensual being, and my work is sensual, like of the sense,
by the way. They just went.
I feel like I hide that, but I'm like, okay. Like it comes out like in my work, but I am really in
embody that, like you're like an Amazonian like woman, like just like tall, like regal, like even through the Zoom, like when you were talking about like letting out the energy and just like letting light come in, I was like, she's like being so sensual, like she's doing all these things, and then you're like, nobody knows this about me. No,
I appreciate that. Okay, so I'll say that like I am actually learning how to be comfortable with it and own it in a way that's whole, instead of like hiding it or like, okay, I can be sensual in my work. I'm really like, you know, and so those are kind of some interesting things. I think, you know, as a single mom and just being kind of a hustler, and yeah, I've had that warrior spirit and I've had to embody that, but I'm really moving into honoring this, like who I am, which is, yes, it's so obvious to other people, but like, it's okay and it's safe, you know, to be expressive about it. Like I get really, you know, like the comparison thing, and oh my gosh, how do I even talk on social media? It takes so much for me. I know I come across cool, but oh my gosh, it is so hard for me. You know, it's really hard, and I hold back a lot of my knowledge and who I am. I'm so much more comfortable in like Q&As like this, or like ask me questions, or let's just talk. I did like a talk yesterday, but I'm really working on just like owning my physicality, and like I am here. I'm not just like this mystical weirdo that comes in on the sides. I'm a person. And you know, I think I'm just owning my sensuality and womanhood in a different way, and coupled with that, I'm exploring a lot of creative outlets, you know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm sure like a lot of people listening can also like relate to that, especially like we're all discovering ourselves again, and like this is like kind of like a growth during this period, like things are coming up, so it's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And where can we find you? Like if you want to reach out to you, book a session with you. You do virtual sessions as well, like not only just live. Like tell us a little bit more about that, and then we're gonna let you go, because we're gonna keep you here for hours then compared to your other clients who are waiting.
So the best way to get in touch with me and to stay in touch is to get on my newsletter. That's where I announce when I'm going to be healing, where I really like writing, and I put a lot of effort into my newsletters and sending stuff out. And you do, like, it is a rebirth. So I do plan to have more offerings and get more regular with that. I'm driving across the country because I drove here from LA, and I'm driving back on Tuesday. So I blocked off my schedule. I'll be available for sessions mid-November through the new year. So you can just book online. My information about my book, my blog, my meditations, all of that about my process, it's all online, KalisaAugustine.com. And if you go on Instagram, at Kalisa_Augustine, you'll have like the links to get the book, download meditations, to get on my newsletter. But I would say that's the best way to stay in touch with me is to hop on my newsletter, and once I'm like settled again back on the West Coast, I'll be open and available for healing. So that's the best way to stay in touch, is the website and the newsletter.
Thank you so much, Kalisa. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom with us today, and making this so beautiful, and like helping to share your light with the world and your work. We are so happy to have you and listening to you. And after this, guys, we're going to have a special treat for you. We're going to give you a free copy of Kalisa's book. You have to answer a question that I'm going to post later on, so stay tuned. And thank you again, Kalisa. This was just so magical, and I felt like I had a session with you. There was like energy flowing, so thank you. I'm so grateful that you were able to make it. on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. It was really fun. I enjoyed the flow and the space that you provide. And it's just really great to connect with you again. I hope to do more fun stuff in the future or try to connect before I leave New York. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was such a joy. And thank you guys all. So I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, I don't know about you, but that was like a really real, like powerful, like raw session. I feel so energized. And if you're listening to us while you're driving or doing the dishes or just like whatever you're doing, I would suggest for you to go on YouTube and watch us in person and live, because the energy in the room is insane. I feel like I'm bouncing off the walls. Just like the energy between us today was really real. And she talked about some interesting things, like some concepts that are like, whoa, like I really love how she really explained all these things. I learned so much. I'm always learning. As you guys know, I always say I am a student of life, and that is my goal here, to learn, to hopefully you guys are also learning. And obviously there is a giveaway this week. The giveaway this week is Kalisa's energy book. And guys, this book is amazing. When you think of an energy book, you really think of like it's overwhelming, it's all this physics and all these words that you don't know about yet and that you haven't even touched on. But the way that Kalisa explains energy in this book, literally anyone can read this book and understand what she's talking about, can really incorporate all these things into their daily lives because she makes it so simple. She also, what I love about it is that she goes into the history of where it came from and like the origins of it, but not in a really like weird and boring way where you're like falling asleep. It's really interesting. It's to the point, just like she is. Like you heard her right now, like there's no BS around her. She just gets to the point, and that's what this book is about. So the giveaway this week is a free copy of her book, and I will personally mail that to you. The question is, what is something that we don't know about Kalisa? And you guys know how to enter. When this comes on, there will be a post on Instagram, and you can comment below on what that is. What is something that we didn't know about Kalisa? Guys, I am so pumped. Really, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you learned something today because I sure did. And until next week, guys, see you then. Bye.